that kid Jared, he's taught me a lot of different like cues and ticks and all the full range of motion. And I'll tell you that full range of motion, that's a game changer in a fucking half, bro. You can't go heavy. Like there's no way around it. Like I'm on the leg press with like 6 plates aside. Normally, you remember, I'd fill the shit out, and my legs are getting better. My sweeps I can feel are coming out a lot more, and I got no knee pain. So I'm like, but because of the style in which it is, I do feel it fatigues me more. So now I have to play with how much volume, and it's more frequent. So I'm doing everything kind of, I don't want to say twice a week, but like every 3 to 4 days, so to speak.
Yeah.
So what drives me nuts lately is seeing all these guys on like TikTok and Instagram like die hard, going into like HIIT training being the best thing of all time, when acting like it's something new when it came out back with Mike Menzer way back in the day, and now they're applying it to Tom Platz and Dorian all the time. Well, it actually turns out that the full range of motion, high frequency and high volume training works better than the HIIT training they're all trying to go gung-ho on because they want to look hardcore.
You think going to failure is hardcore, and being hardcore is fun.
And in reality, it does not get the same results, and that's why there's only been 2 successful bodybuilders who have ever used that technique. And honestly, Dorian wasn't even doing it the way that they assume he was. So in today's video, we're going to go over why this is and what the actual approach Dorian took was. So the first thing we need to go over is what is high intensity HIIT training, not the cardio kind, but the weightlifting kind. So it was popularized by Mike Menzer, who was a big bodybuilder in the 70s, and it's been applied to Dorian's style of training and Tom Platz's also, but I don't even include Platz in that group because he had 1 day a month he would train legs doing the Tom Platz workout that everybody on TikTok's trying to follow, and they all assume he did that workout all the time, and it's just ruining all the natty guys trying it. Don't try it if you're natty, first of all. Second of all, if you're on gear and you're doing it, he only did it once or twice a month for a reason.
Most people don't need to train as much as they do. If you train easy and exercise, if you exercise, you need to train more often. I train legs every 2 weeks at my best. Squatting twice a month, that was the most I could do in growth.
Keep your intensity on program like it should be. Don't go all out one day because you saw this on TikTok and want to do it with your gym bro. It's just going to ruin you down the line. So the HIIT training, it typically requires 1 all-out set on each exercise with a much lower frequency on these because you're going all out, burning yourself out and inducing a lot of systemic fatigue, which is the argument against it. Not saying it's a really bad way of training per se. I'm sure some guys would benefit from actually pushing themselves in the gym instead of doing fluff work, but there's a reason why there's only been 1 or 2 guys who've been able to utilize this over the last 50 plus years in bodybuilding. So there's been some hybrid approaches like Dorian's. That's what we were talking about. I'm going to throw up Paul's video here. He went in depth and covered just about everything on this. He actually bought Dorian's book and went over how he was actually doing more volume than he let on. And a lot of people don't take this into account.
You have to do squats to have big legs. Dorian didn't do squats. Most pro bodybuilders I talk to don't do squats. I see tons of powerlifters that can squat a ton and have skinny little legs. So squats clearly aren't the answer for having big legs. And Dorian didn't do squats. He said he had a back issue or something like that, that he couldn't do squats. So let's look at this. He started off with leg extension, which is the way I like to start off my back or my leg workout. So we had 1, 2, 3 sets of leg extensions.
So as you can see, Dorian was doing a ton of volume at 70% intensity before doing that 1 all-out set. So essentially he was doing 3 to 4 working sets and then doing his last set as a burnout, which is actually closer to John Meadows' mountain dog training than it is to the HIIT stuff all these TNE and TNF idiots on TikTok are going over and trying to spread like the word, this is the way to train, and it's just leading to all these guys with toothpick legs doing deadlifts, sumo deadlifts with 500 pounds that are in high school with their broccoli haircuts and their now sandals is what they wear to the gym. I don't get it. But there are some pros to this approach. I'm not going to completely shit on it. You do get done in the gym quicker because your workout, theoretically, it only requires that one set. It makes you learn how to work out with intensity, so it might be better for beginners, honestly, because you learn how to push yourself more past failure. Although you don't always want to go past failure, especially if you're natural. It just needs to be here and there. You can teach your nervous system how to exert more force and to lift more weight, especially if you're more of a powerlifting approach or a beginner, as I said. And it can help with those beginner gains and getting the baseline strength you need to start getting into a bodybuilding program. So notice how all this stuff is geared towards beginners. Yes, it might be good when you're first starting at the gym, learning how to use intensity, because intensity is what's going to be your number one every workout when you go in there. Once your intensity is set, you know where you can go and about what 1 or 2 reps shy of your true failure is. And then you can start adding more volume and frequency. And that's what most of your moderate and advanced guys should be doing, is more your high volume, high frequency approach and using full range of motion, which, as Nick Walker has told us, made a huge difference in his training. He doesn't feel as burned out and he's making more progress than he was with a higher intensity approach. So in terms of the cons, you can induce way too much systemic failure, and you push past the point of like muscular failure, where your form starts to break down, and get into the nervous system taxing sets. And that's where you run into trouble, especially as a natural, but even as an enhanced. If you're waking up the next day absolutely blown out, exhausted after doing heavy deadlifts or something like that in a high intensity. Then your next day or two of training is going to suck because of it. So is it really worth crushing yourself so hard that your next week sucks? Or are you better off taking an approach of breaking up your volume multiple days a week and for higher set volumes with slightly lower intensity and getting more out of each workout? Only you can answer that question. And it makes it very hard for you to hit the same body part again that week, which really the frequency is one of the biggest things that matters, hitting that body part once every few days instead of one time every 7, and your ability to hit an optimal amount of volume to force your body to grow. So what ends up happening is guys start upping their doses to help with the recovery. So now you're running more gear, more strain and stress on your body, on top of the stress you're already inducing with this style of training, and not getting enough volume. So you're just burying yourself in stress and fatigue while also not getting the amount of gains you could be making by just slightly lowering your intensity and getting the optimal amount of volume in. Now, I've already done a systemic review on the research on this in terms of all the studies that showed that an increase in volume showed an increase in gains up to a certain point. If you want to see that, I'll link my TikTok video in the comments below. I'll pin it in there because I already went over all that, and I don't even think I have those documents saved anymore. I think I deleted them. Or if you don't feel like doing the science nerd thing, just think of all the high schoolers in your gym with the broccoli haircut, the sandals, and the Bad Wolves jerseys. Apparently Bad Wolves are blowing up because everybody's wearing those dark fit ones that are an exact knockoff of the fucking band. They should sue their ass for that. But all those kids that are deadlifting all the time, they'd be fucking huge. They'd be the biggest guys in the gym if all that mattered was that one all-out set with as much weight as you could do. Would they not? So as for the optimal approach, as I'd said, breaking up your body parts 2 times a week, sometimes 3 if you're trying to get a body part up. Say when I blew my back up, I really went hard on doing that 3 times a week to make sure that I got enough volume in. And I was taking all the sets right to the point of form breakdown. So I know there's a lot of confusion on what constitutes reps in reserve and what is true failure. I mean, there is that systemic, like grind set, completely blowing yourself out failure, and that's what you want to avoid. But if you're doing clean reps and you get to a point where those reps start getting unclean and you're having to struggle a little bit and cheat a little bit, that's where that point of failure should be when you're doing this approach. You shouldn't have to work through that unless you're doing an intensity builder. You might do that once in a while, maybe once every 4 to 6 weeks. You get away with doing an intensity builder where you try to blow past the point of fatigue. And I don't think that's a bad approach. Doing it once every month or so. But doing it every single workout, like with the HIIT training, is where you run into trouble. especially as a natural.
I'm not ready for trend.
Now, if you have any questions about the differences in training or about, gear dosage guys use to be able to train that frequently, go ahead and drop any questions
My comment section,
or shoot me a message on Instagram, which will be linked in the end card. I am trying to be more frequent with my uploads, although having multiple vacations and my dog's birthday and my birthday all within the last 4 weeks has definitely put a damper on this. But after 4th of July, when I got to go home to New York again, I hopefully will get to where I'm doing one upload a week, but we will see. Catch you next time.